Right, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We take you back to the story we are covering at the moment, of course, joined by the Northwest Economic Development MEC, Virginia Tlhapi, talking us through some of the initiatives under the Latela Molao campaign. And Virginia, thank you so much for joining us once again. I'm hoping that the line will hold this time around. You were explaining, just before we got cut off there, explaining some of the messages that this campaign aims to send out. But we know that as you launch the campaign, it's not the first time we've heard of the campaign. I mean, we heard it around October last year. What action have you taken since initiating this campaign? Because you had vowed over 6 months ago already that any harm suffered by consumers as a result of the consumption of expired goods would result in harsh action taken against the sellers.
Thank you very much. We have already started, like you have already alluded, and we started in the whole province. In Dr. RSM, we have already confiscated many expired food, and we also took back some of the foreign officials that they were here in our province. We also spoke to Department of Home Affairs so that they can assist us. But it's not only in Dr. RSM, across the province, we made sure that we
Okay, it looks like we're battling with this line. Northwest Economic Development MEC Virginia Tlhapi. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there for now. The quality of that line not so good. We do apologize for that. Now, the Rastafarian community in Kimberley in the Northwest are calling for police to tone down on brutality when they find them with dagga. They say despite the highest court in the land decriminalizing dagga, they remain the target of police who destroy their backyard dagga plants and any cannabis they find in their homes. The Rastafarians marched to the door of the Northern Cape Police to hand over a memorandum of their concerns.
It's been at least 6 years since the private use, possession and cultivation of dagga by adults was decriminalized by the Constitutional Court. However, the Rastafari community in Kimberley says police still don't respect and understand the ruling. Insisting to be heard, they went to seek answers from those in charge of law enforcement.
Tolerance and respect that is afforded to alcohol and tobacco communities must be afforded to the cannabis community, and especially bearing in mind that cannabis has been identified as one of the 7 key economic priority areas for South Africa.
Under the banner of the Cannabis Development of South Africa, the streets of Kimberley were green, yellow and red. The Rastafarians say they are also being targeted for the sale of cannabis-infused products.
Which we did lay a case against them for arresting us for processed marijuana products such as shampoo, hair food, oils and etc. But we don't see this happening at clicks.
Ganja is helping. So we don't know why did the government treat us like as if we are thieves. We kill people and we don't do nothing.
The Cannabis for Private Purpose Bill is currently awaiting the signature of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The bill, among others, addresses issues such as the amount of dagga that is considered legal and how police should enforce the laws. The provincial police have acknowledged some of the concerns by the Rastafarian community.
We will consider what is entailed in the content of this document.
Referred to as dagga, marijuana, cannabis or ganja, the Rastafarian community says the plant needs to be seen as more than just a drug. They maintain it is a pillar that can turn the economy around and create jobs. Nerea Hlakutsa, SABC News, Kimberley.
Let's expand on some of the reaction. We're joined now by Khulu Mapatsi, who's the Acting Communication Head for Cannabis Development Council of South Africa in the Northern Cape. A very good evening to you, Khulu. Thank you so much for your time. You've taken your frustrations with police to the streets now, calling for officers to tone down on the level of brutality. What are some of your biggest concerns?
Our biggest concern, let me first maybe greet you, my sister, and all the viewers. Our biggest concern comes from section 9(1) of our constitution, which makes it unlawful for the state to nakedly prefer one group of people or drugs over another. So our contention is that the South African police are actually ill-treating the Rasta community, robbing them of their cannabis and selling to other people. So that is the problem that we are having, that the police are actually brutalizing us as the community. That is one of the critical problems, that even after the ruling of Judge Zondo of 2018, that even up until today, we are still being arrested for possession of marijuana, which we do not understand what is really happening in this country. So we were actually coming together and calling to the police to really tone down, because there are many cases that our community is reporting to the Cannabis Development Council of South Africa, real cases that we are actually sometimes not just having money to can take them to court, and that is why we have opted for this as a law-abiding community.
The highest court in the land, I mean, you touch on it briefly, has decriminalized dagga. Do you think that perhaps police or some police officers are not aware of this, or just trying to understand if there may be a disjuncture when it comes to executing some of the recommendations?
My queen, we believe that the police are in the know. The police that we are referring to are actually the criminals within the blue uniform, because they are out robbing and stealing, fully knowing that there is a national police directive to that effect that was given out to the police for them to know that it is unlawful for them to get into our yards and pull out our ganja trees, because we have been permitted by this government. The problem, and that is why as the Cannabis Development of South Africa, we have petitioned even the president not to sign the present bill, which we feel that government has been dragging it for over 6 years now, since the ruling of Judge Zondo, and they were given 2 years to actually come up with a law for the cannabis. Up until now, we have the right to can produce our own cannabis in our backyard. We have the right to can possess cannabis, but the problem, it is still illegal for us to can exchange this cannabis, because if I do not plant it, where am I going to get it? That is how unlawful this bill is, and that is why we are calling upon the president not to sign this bill. Hence, we have petitioned the president to that effect. The ruling of Judge Zondo means nothing to this country, to the government, in as far as we are concerned, because they are just continuing harassing us and doing things that are wholly unlawful in as far as we are concerned. The law is out there, there is a directive, hence we're saying that these police are criminals, because even Catalia Rastafarian House, the owner of Catalia was arrested last year. They took things to the value of 500,000. At the moment, he is going up and down looking for his things. He cannot find them, because the police have shared those things among themselves. That is why those things are not there. But
so if you're saying,
they can share them.
Khulu, if you're saying that the Cannabis for Private Purpose Bill, which is yet to be signed by the president, shouldn't be signed as yet, I would have thought that once it's passed into law, it would perhaps be helpful in establishing some form of new legal framework for usage and clarifying on some of the restrictions on the use and possession of the plant.
Unfortunately, we as the Rasta community, under the leadership of Gareth Prince, who took the state to court, we fully believe that the bill has not considered all the things that we have raised as the custodians of cannabis. We have not been listened to. That is why we are raising the fact to say, what is it that we are going to sign when all the things that we are making reference to are not part of that bill in itself? we cannot sell. We cannot sell. There is nothing that says, how are we going to access the ganja? You can go get potatoes from a store. You can get potatoes wherever. You don't need to plant them. But now they say we can plant the ganja. But at the same time, we cannot exchange it financially, because that is the only last commodity that we are looking at as the Rasta community. And we shall never cease up until this battle is won, because this is the last commodity that remains. We as the Rasta community are custodians of this. It is Gareth's friends with the Rasta community that took the state to court, and we have won the case. But we can see that we are not part, or we are not going to get our slice of the cake when we look at what government is doing at the moment in our province, in our different provinces, more especially in the Northern Cape. You can see that the Department of Agriculture, they seriously have a problem, because when they talk cannabis, the only thing that they are talking is hemp.
So, with that in mind, what would you like to see in order for this bill to be passed, and so far as some of the recommendations that you're making and the loopholes that still remain?
We would like to be listened to as the Rasta community, as custodians of this cannabis. We want to be part of the beneficiation processes, the industrialization of ganja. We want to be part of this. We want all those who suffered for this commodity to benefit from this commodity. That is the multi-million-dollar commodity that can better the lives of our people in the true sense. If we can just have a government that can do the same things that the apartheid government did when they stole our land. Let them fund us as the Rasta communities. We don't have the farms that are compliant as the white people, because they already have the land and everything. We don't have it. It is for our government to see how they are going to bring the Rasta community on board. We are a poor community. I must mention that in as far as the finances are concerned and the ownership of land, we do not have land. So government must come to the party. We cannot just be saying that we are doing research and everything. The Rasta community has already searched ganja. I mean, I have been in the cannabis industry for the past 30 years now. What is it that I'm still researching about ganja? Those who are coming on board now must go do their research. We have finished that. We want to access the industrialization of cannabis. We want to be the ones that own the stores that are presently owned by white people that claim to be getting licenses from SAPRA when SAPRA tells us that we cannot get licenses. We as the Rasta community are going to stand up. We will never leave this.
So now that you've handed over your memorandum of concerns to the police, what happens now? What are you hoping to change after you've interacted and hopefully had the Northern Cape Police engage with some of those concerns you've put on paper?
We are basically encouraging ganja users all over the Northern Cape, all over the country, to start making cases against these police. We need to capture them when they are busy with these unlawful acts of them, so that we can have these cases taken to court, for the same reason that the Johannesburg court has ruled that ganja that was taken a couple of weeks ago, it must be returned to its owners. The same thing that we want here in the Northern Cape is that the ganja that was taken from Catalia, the 500,000, must be brought back to us.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion there. Speaking to Khulu Mapatsi, who's the Acting Communication Head for Cannabis Development Council of South Africa in the Northern Cape.